California Gold Mining Inc. is focused on continued development of a high-quality gold resource on its 100% owned Fremont property in Mariposa County, California. The property consists of an entirely private and patented land package totaling 3,351 acres of historically producing gold mines with a state highway, PG&E electric substation, and abundant water present on the property itself. It lies within California's prolific Mother Lode gold belt that has produced over 50 million ounces of gold. California Gold is also investigating greenhouse-based propagation of high CBD industrial hemp seed on the Fremont property. California Gold Mining trades on the CSE under the symbol CGM. Vishal Gupta joins me now. He's the president and CEO of California Gold Mining, trading on the CSE under the symbol CGM. Vishal, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Vishal, it's heartwarming to see a company doing both gold mining and hemp for a person like me. Let's start with the gold exploration project you've got going in Fremont. It's called the Fremont property in Mariposa County, California.
Right, yeah, we've had this project for about 6 years now, and the reason why we purchased this private piece of land in 2013 is because it lies along the Mother Lode gold belt of California, where the historic gold rush took place. And out of the 200-kilometer long belt, we have a 4-kilometer strike of the mineralized shear zone running on our property. Out of that 4 kilometers, we've drilled only about 1 kilometer, and we've got an initial resource estimate, NI 43-101 compliant, of almost 900,000 ounces of gold, 1.6, 1.7 grams per ton, all near surface in the top 200 meters. So we've got an expansion potential just on the shallow ounces of another 4 times, as much as 4 times, I should say. And we've got 25 historic mines on the property as well from the gold rush days that have all been dormant for the last 70, 75 years. They were all underground mines, and they go down to depths of 500, 600 meters below surface. Our resource only goes down to a depth of 200 meters below surface. So we've got a pretty substantial expansion potential and the underground mining potential, at depth as well.
Sure. And so is there an expectation that permitting of a new mine would not be problematic given the history of mining there?
We are in California, which is always problematic,
right,
regardless of whether you're in mining or not, especially when you're in mining. But we've got a few things going for us. We are on completely private land. And in the United States, regardless of where you are, as a private landowner, you've got substantial rights. So we are on completely private land. We own the property, 100% surface rights, 100% mineral rights. Plus, we are in a county that is an autonomous county, which means that when it comes to environmental permitting, the county is the lead agency, not the state. It's one of those rare counties in California where the county is the lead agency. So if you have local community support for your project to go forward, then the probability of getting your project permitted is pretty high. And in our instance, we have a very large supportive community, for our project to go forward. And the reason why there's so much support is because, over 30% of the population of Mariposa County is on social welfare. It draws on social welfare in some form or another. Another 30% of the population is hired by the county government so that people can actually have jobs. So, from an economic standpoint, this is a depressed economy. They desperately need jobs. They desperately need tax revenue to come in. And a project like ours would provide both of those components. So there's a lot of local support for us to move forward with this.
Okay. And so at what stage is the development of the property at? Besides, you've got the resource, but how soon till you go into production?
We believe we're at least 3 to 5 years away. At least. I mean, it could take longer, of course. Nothing is set in stone, but the expectation is that we've got another 75% of the strike to drill out first, then do some project economics to show, what a pretty large project of that scale would look like on this property in terms of economics, and then, you progress to a PEA, then you progress to a pre-feasibility study, you progress to a feasibility study. If there was an opportunity for us to put this project into production at, maybe a slightly higher resource of 1 to 1.5 million ounces or so, then we would definitely fast track this project towards a PEA, then towards a pre-feasibility study, and towards a feasibility study. We're not at that stage yet to make that decision. So we are currently, when we do start our drill programs again on the property, we will be looking to expand the resource first.
Okay, interesting. So I guess that gives you lots of time in the meantime to grow hemp seed. And most recent press release, you announced that you had pre-sold your entire production of hemp seed in the range of 5,000 pounds, and you expected to realize 15 to 30,000 pounds. If even at the lowest number, that's still $75 million. What's the status of that, and how did you get involved in hemp seed production?
Well, I think first things first, it's, I'm a geologist, so my heart is in the mining, aspect of what we're doing on the Fremont property. But increasingly, it became quite apparent that, even though we were coming out with some very substantial operational results on the gold mining and exploration side, we were not getting the appreciation in our stock price. And instead of just, doing one dilutive financing after another to just keep on funding the gold exploration business. I mean, we were in a completely dead market when it comes to the gold, gold mining industry. And so instead of just doing dilutive financings and diluting our shareholders moving forward, we decided to see if we could monetize this private piece of land that we actually have in Central California and see if we could generate some positive cash flow. Mm-hmm. And so, initially we were looking at, building, a greenhouse and doing some high margin commodities, in terms of agriculture, like ginseng or basil or some specialty peppers. But then, we got approached by a couple of, cannabis sector companies, private companies based in California that wanted to lease our land, and then they wanted to do some cultivation of their own. And that's where we got the idea from in terms of, going into the cannabis sector. Mm-hmm. But we strictly wanted to stay away from marijuana. Marijuana is illegal in the United States, and we did not want to do anything illegal, especially because we're a publicly traded company. And so we wanted to stick completely to industrial hemp, which has now been completely legalized by the passing of the U.S. Farm Bill in December of 2018. And so we are in the process of launching our hemp seed propagation business. The expectation is that we'll be setting up one greenhouse, 27,000 square feet. That greenhouse should be up and running by the end of Q3. The seed propagation that would take place within the greenhouse would be on 3-month cycles. So every year we can expect as many as 4 cycles. So our first cycle of seed propagation should be complete by the end of December, mm-hmm. Or I should say by the end of Q4 of this year. And in that time, we should be revenue positive.
I see.
And from one greenhouse, we're expecting between 2,000 and 3,000 pounds on an annualized basis. We've got some cultivation partners who have an impeccable reputation in the industrial hemp space in particular. Those partners are the same partners who have given us an offtake agreement for all of the seed production that we will be generating from our greenhouse in 2019 and 2020. That is as much as 5,000 pounds of seed. The seed currently is selling in the wholesale market in the United States. It is selling for between $40,000 and $50,000 US per pound. Wow. And our long-term projection for the wholesale market is between $15,000 and $30,000 US per pound of seed. So 2,000 to 3,000 pounds on an annualized basis. You're looking at $15,000 to $30,000 US per pound long-term projection. That should be some substantial cash flow coming in.
Sure. And I guess if that all starts to work out, there's no reason not to build more greenhouses.
I don't want to be too forward-looking here, but you can reasonably expect us to have a very rapid expansion of our plans in the 2020 season.
Right. So the price of gold and advancing gold mining projects in particular has been challenging, to say the least, for a lot of companies. But this ability to diversify the opportunity for investors into the hemp business, which is clearly a key focus of the global retail investor class right now, is really interesting. And do you think that there's a likelihood that the money that comes out of the hemp seed business could actually fund exploration in your gold project? That was the entire impetus behind us getting into industrial hemp. We, as I said, we don't want to give up on our mining roots. Mm-hmm. And so, 99.9% of our shareholders are our shareholders because we're a mining company, not because we're a cannabis sector company. And so the expectation was that we wanted to generate some positive cash flow that would help us achieve our gold exploration objectives. Mm-hmm. That was the initial impetus. Clearly, now it has turned into an opportunity that is an incredible investment opportunity in its own right, given how hot the industrial hemp CBD sector is at current time. The expectation is, when we convert our hemp project
into a business, into a viable business, that would be around the time when we realize our first revenues. Around that time, we will have two options in front of us. Either we do a change of business and we convert ourselves from being a gold exploration company into an industrial hemp CBD company, or we split the two businesses up into two separate companies. So at that stage, right around that time, we will have two paths in front of us, and we will consult all of our principal shareholders before making that decision. But if we actually do choose the latter, which I am leaning towards myself, of splitting the two businesses up into two separate companies, then the expectation would be that we would do that as a plan of arrangement, shareholders plan of arrangement, which means that if you, James, own one share of California Gold today, then you would end up owning one share of the gold company and one share of the hemp company. And in order to make sure that the gold company after the split does not go through a debt spiral of very dilutive financings, we would maybe structure some sort of a deal between the hemp company and the gold company, where the hemp company will pay some sort of a royalty or some sort of a leasing arrangement between the two companies, where the gold company can have some cash coming in from the hemp business as well, and can fund its future exploration objectives.
Interesting. Is the land where the hemp is going to be produced, is that on the gold mine site?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty large piece of land. We've got 3,300 acres.
Okay.
And the gold is probably sitting primarily on about 1,200 acres or so, rough estimate.
Oh,
don't hold me to it.
Lots of extra room then.
And the one greenhouse is going to take 27,000 square feet, which is a little over half an acre. So
right.
Land, usage of land is not a problem. We're definitely not going to be putting that greenhouse on top of a gold mill.
Right. Okay, well, that's great, Vishal. Well, let's leave it there for now. We'll come back to you when you've got more to tell us. Thanks very much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.